I'm 82. I was successful once. Company, money, recognition. People stood when I entered rooms. Now, the phone doesn't ring. My son was 12, holding his cap, asking if I'd come to his game. I said, "I'll try, buddy." I didn't. My wife whispered in the hospital, "We were always going to slow down." 2 weeks later, she was gone. I learned what mattered. Too late. Success is small. A hand held, a conversation finished. I have neither now. I wake up before the sun most mornings, not because I have somewhere to be, just because my body has learned that time is short. When you're young, mornings feel like opportunity. When you're old, they feel like inventory. You start counting what's left instead of what's ahead. I built a company in my 30s, manufacturing, nothing glamorous, but steady. By 45, I had more money than my father ever dreamed of seeing. I had a corner office with glass walls and a parking space with my name on it. People stood up when I walked into a room. I thought that was success. What I didn't see were the 7 quiet things eating at it from the inside. They didn't look dangerous at the time. They looked reasonable, responsible even. That's how they get you. The first was delay. I kept telling myself I'd slow down later. I'd take the long trip with my wife when things settled. I'd show up to more of my son's baseball games next season. I'd visit my mother more often once the new contract was signed. There was always a later. I remember one Saturday afternoon, my son was 12. He stood in the kitchen in his uniform, cap in his hands, asking if I was coming to the game. I was reviewing numbers at the table. I didn't even look up when I said, "I'll try, buddy." I didn't try. I told myself there would be other games. There were. I missed most of them. Delay doesn't feel like failure. It feels like planning. That's the trick. You think you're organizing your life. Really, you're quietly choosing what won't matter to you until it's too late. The second killer was approval. I wanted to be respected. Not liked, respected. I grew up watching my father struggle, always bending to other men's decisions. I swore I wouldn't live like that. So I chased admiration, bigger contracts, bigger offices, bigger recognition at industry dinners where men in dark suits shook my hand and called me impressive. I remember the night I won a regional business award. My wife wore a blue dress she'd been saving. She looked beautiful. I thanked my partners in the speech. I thanked the investors. I forgot to thank her. On the drive home, she stared out the window. I asked what was wrong. She said, "Nothing. You did great." I believed her. Approval is a hungry thing. It doesn't fill up. You feed it, and it asks for more. And while you're feeding it, the people who love you quietly step back. The third was pride. I didn't ask for help. Not at work, not at home. I handled problems alone because I thought that's what strong men do. When my marriage started thinning out, because that's how it happens, it thins, I told myself it was just a busy season. She stopped telling me about her day. I stopped asking. We weren't fighting. We were just efficient. One night she said, "I miss you." I laughed a little and said, "I'm right here." But I wasn't, not really. Pride keeps you from hearing what's being said underneath the words. I thought because I was providing, I was loving. I thought because I wasn't cruel, I was kind. I didn't understand that presence is its own language. The fourth killer was distraction, not the kind you carry in your pocket today. Mine came in the form of ambition. Every quiet moment I filled with planning. Every vacation I took phone calls. Every dinner my mind was half somewhere else. I remember sitting on a beach once, finally taking a week off. My daughter was building a sand castle. She kept calling, "Dad, look!" I'd glance up for a second and say, "That's great, sweetheart." I don't remember what the castle looked like. I do remember closing a deal from that beach chair. I can still picture the contract. That's the problem. Distraction robs you in small amounts. A look here, a conversation there, a memory you don't even realize you're not making. The fifth was comparison. I had more than enough, but I was always measuring. Another company expanded faster. Another man bought a bigger house. Another headline praised someone else. Success, when it's built on comparison, is never steady. It shakes under your feet. I'd hit a goal and feel relief for about a day. Then I'd move the line further out. My wife once asked me, "When will it be enough?" I said, "Soon." It never was. The sixth killer was silence, not the peaceful kind. The kind where you avoid hard conversations because they might slow you down or make you uncomfortable. When my son was in his 20s, he stopped coming around as much, said he was busy. I recognized the tone. It was the same one I used on him years before. We had dinner one night, just the two of us. There was a heaviness between us. I could feel he wanted to say something. I could have asked. I could have opened the door. Instead, I talked about the market, about growth, about opportunities. He nodded, finished his meal, left early. We never had the conversation that was waiting there. Silence feels safe in the moment. It avoids conflict, but it builds distance brick by brick. The seventh was the belief that time was generous. That one is the quietest of all. You assume you'll have another Christmas, another anniversary, another long talk, another chance to apologize properly, another chance to sit on the porch and do nothing together. When my wife got sick, it happened quickly. A diagnosis, a few months of hospitals, the smell of antiseptic and tired flowers. I sat beside her bed one night while machines hummed. She was smaller than I remembered, or maybe I was finally seeing her clearly. She said very softly, "We were always going to slow down someday." I held her hand and told her we still would. She looked at me in a way I still can't forget. Not angry, not accusing, just aware. She passed 2 weeks later. The house has been quiet ever since. That was the turning point. Not because it changed my behavior. I was already in my 70s. It changed my understanding. I saw all at once the cost of my reasonable choices. I had provided well, paid for college, left an inheritance that will make my grandchildren comfortable. On paper, it's a good life, but I missed the ordinary Tuesdays, the small triumphs, the fragile confessions. I traded moments for milestones. You can't buy back a child's childhood. You can't re-sit at a dinner table that's been cleared. You can't rewind to the night your wife says she misses you and choose a different response. Time doesn't negotiate. My son and I speak now. It's polite, careful. There's affection there, but it's layered over years we didn't fully share. My daughter visits when she can. She hugs me tight when she leaves, like she's making up for something. I don't tell her she doesn't have to. I walk through rooms filled with things I once worked so hard to afford. They don't say much back. If you had asked me at 50 whether I was successful, I would have said yes without hesitation. At 82, I think success is quieter than I thought. It looks more like sitting at the table even when you're tired, more like listening all the way through, more like leaving work unfinished so a conversation can finish instead. The silent killers aren't dramatic. They don't announce themselves. They sit beside your ambition and nod along. They tell you you're being responsible. They tell you there's still time. Maybe there is. For you, I mean. I don't say this as advice. I've earned the right to stop advising anyone. I just know what it feels like to sit in a quiet house and realize that what you built and what you kept are not always the same thing. If something in this old man's voice sounds familiar, don't brush it off the way I did. Don't assume you'll circle back later. Later has a way of shrinking. I'm not bitter. I'm grateful for many things. I loved and was loved. I just misunderstood what needed protecting. These days, I sit on the porch in the evenings. I watch the light fade. I don't rush it. There's nowhere else I need to be. Success, in the end, is very small. It's a hand in yours, a chair pulled close, a conversation that isn't postponed. I learned that late, and at 82, late is all I have left.